Hello, everyone. Scribbler Johnny checking in before we resume. And so, as I've mentioned, I wrote Acid Burn in a really dark and sad time in my life. And what I neglected to mention was that I wrote it in prison. And I did that because I'm embarrassed and ashamed, of course. I spent most of my life as a law abiding man. I was honorably discharged from the U.S. Army. I had been a member in good standing of my religion, well, cult, for most of my life. And so when I found myself in the dark place that I found myself in when I committed my crime and confessed and went to prison and pleaded guilty, I served 4 years in prison. During that time, I wrote 20 novels. And most of the stories here on my YouTube channel are those stories that I wrote while I was incarcerated. And so Acid Burn was both born from a desire to comfort myself as well as a desire to make something positive and beautiful during my time in prison. I wanted to take my time and my energy and direct it into something creative and something beautiful. And I am happy that I was able to do so. That even though my stories do sometimes go to dark places, they also go to places of healing and beauty. And that is what I want for you. I want you to heal. I want you to forgive yourself. I want you to move onward and upward towards better things, to have the life that you want for yourself. And if you're stuck for a while, you can come here to my worlds and you can have a pleasant diversion and some beauty for a time. And again, mature audiences, this is a horny one. I will now resume the story Acid Burn. The soup was delicious. Etta was equally affectionate to both men, and neither of them felt jealous. Suddenly, Chips announced, "I want to learn spear fighting." Seven nodded. "I will teach you." "Thank you." And then Etta asked, "Why spear?" "I don't have any weapon training. I think spears are simple and versatile," Chips replied. She nodded at this. "Well, I have to set up my lab and table to do some work." And then she unfolded her table from the side of the wagon. She busied herself, extracting the antlion venom and distilling it in her alembic. And Chips spoke to Grimhorda. "So, has he told you?" "Told me what? See? About our, relationship? This may dismay you, but we discussed before we met you. She needed mammalian companionship. Luckily we did meet you. You're a great partner." "I see. Don't feel strange. I embrace you. You are a part of my—" And then he said a word in Matakala. "It means my mother adopted your egg. We are as family, though different. Mammals make a lot of fuss over things that my people accept in stride." "Thanks, G. I embrace you too." We have bled together, and that means a lot. My people say blood is thicker than water. That is literally true, but I see the metaphorical applications. And then the soup was also used for good dinner as well later that day. Maybe skipping breakfast had an impact on their appetites. Chips spent most of that day reading, and at dusk the Vochos returned, and as Etta tied them and filled their water buckets, all of them heard the ringing of small, melodious bells. A mataka dressed in colorful pants and a halter top. The bells were in their earrings, and they wore a headscarf decorated with shells. They wore no visible weapons and carried a rucksack. Etta waved. Hail, traveler! Come, share our fire and meal. The mataka waved. Thank you, I will be glad to share. My name is Satrasha. She set down her pack and unrolled a blanket near the fire. Chips asked, Why do you dress that way? She replied, I got sick of people assuming I was male, so I dress in a very feminine style. Tails and dresses are a poor mix for a dancer, so I decided to wear some earrings and tops like this with my pants. I see. She rummaged in her pack and produced a bowl and a spoon. May I serve myself? The partners motioned for her to go ahead. The partners introduced themselves, and Satrasha was candid and friendly, telling them stories about dancing and growing up in a swamp. Seven, being a desert mataka, was fascinated by swamp life. Satrasha invited them to swim with her. Everyone agreed that this was a fine idea. Chips did not have a swimsuit and only some long underwear to use, and Satrasha was only wearing a loincloth in the river, as did Seven. As the group splashed and played in the cool water, Satrasha often flapped her ears to ring the bells, and Seven found that playful act to be very fetching. The Mataka both began to play a game where they would submerge and then ambush the mammals, tickling them. And later, as they sat warming by the fire, wrapped in blankets, Chips and Satrasha, Etta and Seven, Etta asked, Would you like to accompany us to Leanie's mill? There are bound to be people eager to see you dance there. The dancer looked at each of the partners. Four is better than one, especially now that the nights are getting colder. She slid her arm around Chips's waist. Can I borrow this one to keep me warm tonight? He smells tasty. Everyone laughed at that. Etta replied, Don't eat him. He's our emergency rations. More laughter. And it was feeling as if they had been friends forever, or in a lazy narrative. Chips was happy to help warm the dancer, feeling very gallant. Seven and Etta bid the two of them good night, and Seven joked, Don't let her lure you away to live in the swamp. It's a trap. Satrasha laughed to loudest of all of them at that. And there in the wagon, Seven lay on his stomach, and Etta applied more of the healing salve to his poor burned body. It should be all healed by tomorrow night, I think. It's not as good as the healing water, but it's faster than letting nature run its course. I wonder why Chips couldn't call upon Chauncey again. Summoning takes a lot of energy. Poor Chips is still recovering too, Seven replied. I understand. I like Satrasha. What do you think? And she thought about it for a moment and then replied to herself, I think she's charming, and she fits in with us well. Are you thinking of offering her a place, Seven? He rolled to his side to face her. No, I'm thinking of helping her get a house and making her the mother of the eighth. What? That's really sudden. My people act upon intuition. It was my intuition that led me to sign on with a poor alchemist. Etta kissed him. Okay, this doesn't change how you feel about me, does it? Nothing ever will, he swore. She kissed him again. Good night, G. Good night, E. Somehow, Etta slept, in spite of the fire in her loins. And that night, Seven was not bothered by any ghosts. Babies don't sleep so well. Outside the wagon, Chips returned from relieving himself in the river to see Satrasha was completely nude. Not that that meant much to him. And she was applying some kind of oil to her skin, making her scales glow in the firelight. The oil holds the heat and makes my scales smooth and as soft as human skin, if only for a while. Oh, I see. She jingled her bells. Does my nudity disturb you? It did, but Chips did not want to be ungallant. Whatever you're most comfortable with is fine with me, Satrasha. Oh, good. I like sleeping with nothing between me and my bedfellows. This made him blush. Do you mean you want me naked too? She nodded slowly and stood up languidly. Uh-huh. I want all your warmth directly on my skin. It's better, believe me. She picked up several blankets and cushions and arranged them into a makeshift nest. She beckoned him close and slowly pulled off his nightshirt, running her hands along his back as she did. He shivered involuntarily. She set his nightshirt aside and wrapped a blanket around him and herself. Come to bed, Chips. She pulled him along, her tail brushing his knees. She lay on her back and pulled Chips into her embrace, pulling the blanket over her head and covering them both completely like a bedroll. This nest she had fashioned was very comfortable, and her skin was warm and soft. Chips gulped. Are you only planning on sleep? He asked her. The oil smelled like flowers, he noticed. Her breath was hot as she answered. Do you want more than sleep? I know Edda's in heat. I can smell her. She's sleeping with Grimhorda to protect her, and likely your virtue. He is safe. She caressed him and placed her legs around him, which caused a reaction that he was not comfortable with. But she cooed. I know you have needs. I can feel that you like me too. I can't do what she can do, but I can make you happy. I know what humans like. To illustrate this, she licked his neck and rubbed her legs on his hips and the backs of his legs. She grabbed his buttocks in her hands. His hips bucked uncontrollably, rubbing his manhood on her cloaca. Satrasha, I barely know you. Why are you doing this? She moaned and made a rumbling sound in her throat. Chips, I know you need this. Let me take care of your needs. I like doing this. It makes me feel beautiful. I even picked a human name. You can call me Sasha. I'll be your dream girl, and tomorrow it can be our secret. Just a sweet dream. Come on. I want you to be mine tonight. She writhed against him, hot and slippery and fragrant. I won't keep it a secret. I don't know about this, Chip said. She stopped. I came on too strong. I see that now. I thought that you were burning with lust. Okay, new plan. We go nice and slow. She licked his ear and stroked him gently, rubbing her feet against his calves again. Sasha, please. I like you, I do. But this doesn't feel right. She paused. Part of you wants this. I feel it. I want it. I like you. And I think that you do inwardly want it. But why do you say you don't want it? Is it your partner's? Do I need to get their approval to bed you? I think that they like me just fine. It's not that. I don't like just acting upon passions or pretended affection. I need love, genuine affection. She stopped and gave him a small hug. My people are very intuitive. We just accept a lot of things at their inherent values. And I intuitively like you very much. And I want to make you feel good. And I want you to like me as well. And you know, I've got dreams and goals. I'd love to have a home and a family. And I see that you are like a family. I would love to be a part of that. I know what love is. And I want to be loved too. Please love me. He rested his head on her chest. He felt and heard her heart pounding. He liked that sound. She jingled her bells and then asked him, What is your decision? And he felt a familiar fluttering in his chest. My heart knows what it wants, but my mind is still unsure, Chips replied. And what does your heart want? Sasha asked. My heart says that I love you already, like some foolish story for children. She laughed softly and whispered, Are you sure you're not Mataka? I love you, Chips. Take me into your family and love me back, please? He relaxed. Life is strange, and love stranger still. He kissed her on her chest, right above her heart, and, well, not strictly compatible, and certainly not able to breed, a human male and a Mataka female could have a pleasant time together. And they did. They didn't know it then, but this love growing in their group was going to shape their destinies and the destinies of generations to come. Elsewhere, in a no-name town, four Vierna women huddled together on two beds that they had pushed together. Ilana the sniper had removed her veil in the company of her friends. There was no man to see her unveiled. Charcy, the other archer, was alive, but still weak. She had died briefly, and was raised again by Masha the Mend Mage's powerful magic. Felice the Bend Mage, and the senior among equals, was weeping there in the collective embrace of her sword sisters. We will avenge ourselves. They'll die for what they did. That fat one could have just let us go, lesson learned, but she ruined my face. And that Mataka killed Charcy, and almost me, said Ilana. Charcy spoke next. Well, you did kill the human. He lived. Masha saw the fat one heal him. Masha asked, Does anyone remember their names? Felice answered, No, but they'll know our vengeance. After all, she gave me a new name, Acidburn. Now, what we will need most for our vengeance is some allies. Tomorrow, we will go find them, and they will fear Acidburn. The next morning, Satrasha was very happy, touching everyone and almost dancing every step. Etta and Seven were glad to see her fit into their group dynamic so fast and so well, and they never asked what happened that night. And Chips broke his word and did keep it a secret, though he did begin to kiss Sasha, and it became a sort of new activity. Etta and Chips both kissing Satrasha. A day of travel passed without any incidents. And that night was to be their last night by the river before they reached Leanie's mill. And they talked and shared and took great joy in each other's company. That night, as before, Sasha and Chips slept together, though they only slept. And Chips did kiss her good night, and he told her a story about his sister Molly. And Etta could feel the changes in her body as her heat period ended, and the night was easier than it had been when it began. And that night she dreamed of her adolescence, when her nickname was Etta Candy. The other youths mocked her lack of magical aptitude and her nearsightedness, and she remembered the night that she first dyed her hair. She rejected Greater Vienna society for rejecting her. Her alchemy was powerful in its own ways and quite similar to magic, and it was consistent and did not need any drain upon one's mana and life energies. Her shame was replaced with pride, and here she was now surrounded by people who loved her. The time of not being bothered by his forebearers had ended for Seven. But as he saw them in the dream time, they were subdued. It seemed that Mother River was conducting an experiment after all. They reached Leanie's mill in time for lunch. The city was fairly large by the standards of other places they had been during their recent journey, and it was absolutely filled with Mugu people. There were other people as well, just the clear majority of Mugu. The enthusiasm of the small, white-furred, winged, bat-like folk was contagious, and the din of the market was incredible. At the inn they selected, Etta announced over their lunch that they would need to commission a bigger wagon, which meant that they would need lots of coin. Everyone was willing to work hard to contribute to make this dream happen. This new, bigger wagon would be a rolling home for them. The first order of business would, of course, be clearing room in their current wagon by selling their accumulated junk and goods. And Sasha also had a few gems that she sold easily. The local craftsmen absolutely adored the sight of the snapping turtle's shell, the antlion mandibles as well, and other things that Etta had harvested. She was able to sell the venom for a high price. According to her bestiary, the antlion's venom caused blindness as well as pain. There in town they found many craftsmen and adventurers and traders, but Not many of the kinds of adventurers that they were, more mercenaries and people who were in the fighting clans. And rather than set up shop, Etta just sold her goods directly to the locals. Sasha was able to get some gigs dancing at a nearby bar and did really well for herself, all considered. A mataka dancer was a marvel and exotic in this part of the world. The partners shared the room at the inn, and they all slept together, comfortable and warm. Every day that passed, they were mindful of the changing of the season to the colder times, and they knew they would need to make plans for winter when the two cold blooded members of their company would need to be kept especially warm. They wouldn't be able to make it to the warmer regions in time, and Seven had a very urgent need to complete his quest to acquire the dragon's whisker spear. And so they determined their larger wagon would need to wait, and instead they winterized their current wagon. They draped it in oilskins, and they purchased winter furs for everyone. They also stabled their vochos and rented some horses who were suited to the cold that they knew they would face as they continued to travel in Cassandra. Part of the deal they made was that they also had to hire a drover to ensure that the horses were well cared for. Etta agreed to this deal but frowned. She also acquired some potions that would help to warm the mataka and plenty of cured meats. All told, they spent a week in Leanie's mill before they embarked anew on their quest. The changes in the forests of Cassandra was gradual but distinct. The Cassandran trees, compared to those in Antweiler, were very pale and thick and reaching high. The roof of their wagon didn't even scrape any of those tree branches. The drover almost never spoke, and he slept in his own tent. He carried a heavy crossbow. He would share their meals and listen to the partners' stories, and sometimes he even smiled, but he never made comments on their stories or contributed much to conversation at all. And so the partners slept together in the wagon, a bit cramped, but they were content. And as they traveled in his dream times, he would see visions of landmarks to guide them to the hidden tomb of Soames. They heard some rumors in town, and these rumors mentioned the tomb of brave Leanie, Mugu Knight, also within the very forest they were traveling. And mushrooms, some of them as tall as some trees. Their third day of travel through this forest led them to a stream that was filled with many orange fish. They were able to catch several with great ease, and they packed these small fish in salt to cure them. And crossing the stream was quite easy. And they chose to spend a lot of the time walking beside the wagon to help keep warm, though Etta was able to bear the cold with the most ease of the party. And during this third day of travel, Etta and Sasha were in the front, and the men behind the wagon. They were all quite alert, and as they traveled, the horses grew agitated, and Etta and Satrasha shared a look as they smelled something rancid. Suddenly, a human man jumped from a disguised rope up ahead of them and approached them swaggering. He pulled back his hood to reveal a scarred face that was missing an ear. The man raised up a hand. Hail, fish poachers! I am Vigraf Di Carlo, regulator for Baron Di Carlo, owner of these woods. My men are also here, and you are bound by law to surrender all of the fish you poached and pay a fine of all your trade goods. Edda frowned at this man. My map does not list this area as a barony. Where are your credentials? Vigraf unslung a crossbow from behind his back. This is my credentials, bunny big tits. Boys! The drover cracked his whip and the horses ran, scattering some of these men. Drover, you coward! Edda shouted. All told, there were 8 human men with various weapons stepping out of the woodline. Chips waved his hands in the magical weave. Cerberus, come to me! He called out. Sasha began twirling a rather wide ribbon with an aura of menace. Edda reached into her satchel and grabbed flasks of burning oil in each hand. If you're brigands, you'll not find us easy prey, Sasha swore to them. And Vigraf spoke in reply. Brigand is a dirty word. We're regulators. Baron Di Carlo is a baron by his own hand, but you will treat him with respect. Sasha hurled her ribbon at Vigraf's crossbow and yanked it from his hands into her own. I see no credentials here. You're just robbers. In response, Vigraf shouted, Get them! So, Sasha shot Vigraf, and then she dodged a thrown rock. Edda tossed one of her grenades at the rock thrower, which covered him and a crony in the hot oil that quickly ignited in the air, and it made them stagger as they beat at the flames. Then 3 men rushed at Chips, only to be bowled over and burned themselves by Cerberus. 2 men wielding clubs attacked 7. Vigraf drank a potion and pulled the crossbow quarrel from out of his chest. In frustration, Sasha hurled the crossbow at his face, which struck him down in his distraction, and also releasing the crossbow with a jerk from her ribbon. Edda threw her second grenade at the 2 men who were already burning, which doused them in still more of the oil. 7 staggered back and thrust his spear into the belly of one of his attackers. Chips wielded the harpoon that 7 had loaned him cautiously, and he managed to dispatch one of the men that was pinned down by Cerberus. Sasha leaped to Vigraf's prone form, holding his throat in her claws. Using her rapier, Edda stabbed the burning men, ending their suffering. The partners left only Vigraf alive. Edda searched him and found a few knives. 7 jumped and ran ahead in search of the wagon. His fast leaping made him look like a flea to Chips's eyes. Sasha tied Vigraf with cords, and Chips remarked, Where do you keep all that stuff? I hide them in Edda's décolletage, big boy, Sasha replied. Even Vigraf laughed at this. Edda pulled out her map. Will you tell us where the Baron lives? Sure. He studied the map and described where his stronghold could be found. Chips asked him, Are you a relative of Baron Di Carlo? Vigraf scoffed. No, We take his name when we enter his service. It is to create unity. Seven returned with the drover and their wagon. So, Satrasha asked, does he live to rob again? The partners pondered. They looked at him and then looked at each other. Etta frowned. I don't think we can let him tell his cronies to get vengeance on us. And then Seven touched her shoulder. The Baron is wise. His regulator can tell him that we are too costly to harry, and that he'd be better off letting us be. Isn't that right, Vigraf? I'm a knight of the Topaz Dragon. Satrasha there is an assassin. Lady Etta is an alchemist, and Chips there is a summoner. We are far too dangerous to have as enemies. Much better to be on good terms, yes? Vigraf nodded at this. Satrasha, release him, and give him back one of his knives. We can also keep his crossbow, but we'll claim his quarrels as a bounty. Sasha unbound the regulator and handed him one knife. She warned him, cross us again, and I'll collect your eyes. He hurried to leave and disappeared into the trees. After they felt comfortable again, Sasha reached out to tickle Seven. Assassin? Well, it worked, right? Their next day of travel led them to the place of Seven's visions. There were mushrooms as big as bushes, mushrooms as big as small trees, and these taller mushrooms were in a ring, which was around an incredibly broad and very dead tree. They instructed the horse drover to wait for 2 days. The partners made their way between the mushrooms, and their skin tingled as they approached the dead tree. This is it. Now what? Seven asked. They circled the tree, looking for clues. The branches were too high to climb. There were no knots that looked like hidden switches closer to the ground, though Etta did press on a few anyway, to no effect. In the stories, there's always some stupid riddle or a prophecy to decode, she grumped, and then she leaned on the dead tree in exasperation. Sasha said, well, it's the tomb of a dragoon, holding a weapon that is desired by dragoons. Therefore, it must be entered in the way unique to such knights. Like stabbing it with a spear? Seven asked. Like coming in from above, Sasha said, pointing. Seven looked up. The dragon spirit can easily get me up higher into those branches. Hand me a rope, please. Sasha handed him a long silk rope. How much did that cost? Seven asked. A year in a caliph's harem. Chips blushed at this. Etta whistled. No one doubted her story. Seven took hold of the bundled rope, ran and leaped high to the branches, and then began climbing through and between them, cursing as he went. Etta said, Wait, I can't climb a rope. Sasha soothed her. We'll help you out, Bunny Big Tits. Don't worry. Etta laughed. Never call me that in mixed company, okay? I'm afraid that name could stick. Chips remarked, well, I have to admit it does have legs. And so do you. He gave her thigh an affectionate pinch. Stop it. Etta insisted with a smile. I wonder how G is doing, though. And as he went, Seven did begin to have a much easier time navigating the branches. He did reach the top of the tree, and there was clearly a large hatch with gleaming silver hinges. He searched for a good place to anchor the rope. And as he was doing this, the remaining partners were creating a rope harness for Etta, being mindful of her large hips and breasts. But no matter how they tried, it was uncomfortable. Sasha shook her head. It's going to hurt. I'm sorry. Etta sighed. The things we do for love. And then the silk rope fell down, and Sasha tied it to the rope trailing from Etta's harness. Sasha climbed the silk rope easily, but her tail hit Etta. Sorry, she called back. Etta rubbed her face and said, ouch. Chips took the time to pull her face down to his level for a kiss. It's going to be fine. We're in one of those dumb stories, right, E? She returned his kiss. We'd better be, big boy. And then she used her hands to give him a boost up to the rope, and he braced his feet against the tree trunk and was able to ascend. Don't you have summonings you could use to magic yourself up there? Not yet, Chips called back. Sasha grabbed hold of him and helped him up the rest of the way and embraced him at the branch line. That's my summoner, she said. He gave her neck a loving smooch, and then Seven called down, Ready? Not yet, Sasha responded. Get yourself braced and steady. Etta grabbed the rope above her and braced a foot on the tree. And then, Ready! Etta called out. The Mataka heaved, their muscles rippling. Chips helped too, but he was nowhere near their strength. Etta ascended steadily, stabilizing with her feet. Chips clambered up to be out of the way for when Etta reached the branch line and Sasha's waiting arms. Sasha helped her up and gave her an embrace as well. That's my alchemist, she said. Etta gave her a kiss and hugged her close. Don't tell the boys, but I was so scared, Etta whispered. Satrasha chuckled. You were steady as a rock, sweetness. Ready to get to the top? Yeah, I want to see the top. They helped each other climb to meet Seven. And there at the top, Etta saw some smaller mushrooms and collected several into a bag. She would identify them later. So how do we get in? She asked, looking at the hatch. First, Seven said, look west. And they saw to the west mountains and also a large lake. And then, not as far away as the lake, there was a rather rocky hill in a cleared area. I'll wager that hill is where we'll find Brave Leanie's tomb, Seven remarked. They took a moment to soak in the awe of the sights around them at the top of this great tree. Sasha was the one who broke their reverie. I'm getting cold, let's go in. Seven was able to find a pull ring, and he heaved. Below the hatch, they found a spiraling stairwell that had been carved into the once living tree. Oh, thank goodness, exclaimed Etta. Sasha untied her and gathered up the ropes and tucked them away into her shirt, fluffing it rather like a cushion. Etta led the way holding up a lantern. Seven closed the hatch behind them, bringing up the rear. And very quickly they found themselves in a gallery of sorts. And there were cushions along the floor, and then another stairway a few feet distant. They rested in this gallery area and ate some snacks. They also cuddled for a while to build their warmth back up. The cuddling also included several kisses. And then it was time to continue. They descended in the same order: Etta, Chips, Sasha, Seven. And as they descended, it grew warmer. And then the wood was replaced by stone. And then the partners saw many crystal cylinders mounted to the walls. Seven looked and then pointed to a slot cut into the wall. It was narrow and short. Acting on his instincts, Seven slid his spear blade first into the slot. There was a great clanging sound, and something held the spear fast. He grunted as he tried to move it, but to no avail. The cylinders they had seen filled with a blue light. "There's a reason my spear is being held," Seven declared, "and I'm here for the dragon's whisker." He took the lead, and Etta extinguished her lamp. At the end of a tunnel, they found a large door. Seven pulled the door open, and his partners followed him inside. They found a heap of gold coins, and there was even a chest atop it. Seven motioned them to wait. Seven examined the coins closely without touching them, and then he looked at the chest, which was also banded with iron. "I would not touch those," he said. There was also an armor rack, and it was bearing a suit of plate mail with a gold dragon helm. "I wonder if Soames wore this armor. Not a member of his knighthood, so I think leave it too." Sasha sighed. "There's so much valuable stuff. Why can't we take it all?" "This is a hero's tomb. It is protected." "Aw." And then they proceeded in the gallery and saw the skeleton of a dragon coiled around a statue of a Mataka knight holding a spear. Behind that statue was a stone box. Seven approached and then kneeled before closing the distance to the skeleton. "I am Grimhorda the Seventh, Knight of the Order of the Topaz Dragon. I come unarmed and in need. Please lend me your spear, Soames." Nothing happened. He stood and looked back to his friends. "I actually expected something would happen," he admitted. The others moved close behind him. He took a deep breath and resumed going forward. The dragon's bones moved, and soon were standing. The undead dragon roared in a rather hollow-sounding voice. Grimhorda lunged for the spear held by the statue, leaping several feet in a bound. As he pulled the spear free, the statue moved and gave a knightly salute. The dragon opened its jaws again, and Etta hurled an acid grenade into its great mouth using her sling. Its bones sizzled. Chips called upon Shiver, who flew to embrace the Draco Lich's neck and gave it a freezing kiss, causing frost to spread along its bones. The Draco Lich lunged and grabbed Etta within its jaws and hurled her into the air. She wailed in agony as it caught her again in the air. Chips shouted out, "No! Shiver, help her!" Shiver pouted at him, but she began to punch the dragon's teeth, even shattering some of them. Sasha leaped onto the dragon's ribs and began to climb them as it moved. Seven leaped as well, and he landed atop the Draco Lich's skull, gripping a horn in one hand and the spear in the other. Feeling the magic and the inspiration from the dragon's spirit within his heart, he spoke up. "Dragon soul, rest in peace," he commanded. The Draco Lich shuddered and lay itself down and gave up the ghost. All of the partners scrambled to free Etta from the beast's jaws. Her eyes fluttered, but did not open. Her breath was labored and bubbling, a punctured lung. "She's dying," Sasha wailed. Shiver frowned and winked out, and Chips began to cry. "Come to me, Phoenix!" he cried out. Seven rummaged in Etta's satchel, looking for healing water. No Phoenix appeared. Chips screamed again in anguish. "Phoenix, come to me! I command you!" Etta's eyes opened, and she held Seven's hand and convulsed. But her painful breathing stopped. "No!" Sasha cried out. Seven wept as well, and he whispered, "No, no." Chips sliced his hand open upon the blade of the harpoon from Seven. "I beg you, Phoenix, blood and fire!" He saw a flask of Etta's burning oil, and he threw it at a nearby wall, and then flung his blood at the flames, and he sobbed out, "Blood and fire!" From those flames arose a shriek, and a great bird flew from the fire, its long tail feathers trailing behind. "Raise her, Phoenix!" The Phoenix called out again and touched her with its tail feathers. The Phoenix flew upward and disappeared through the roof overhead. The roof was scorched, and a single pinion feather fell fluttering to land upon Etta's bloody chest. The feather burned to ash, and Etta began to breathe once more. Seven finally found the precious healing water, and he helped Etta to drink it. Her wounds healed, and Seven held her close. The other partners joined the embrace. And Etta coughed. "Did I hear you tell the dragon skeleton to die?" Seven laughed. "Oh yes, the dragon's Whisker. It seems to give me certain powers." "Well, thanks for killing the dead dragon." They smiled in relief, and Sasha complained, "Chips is bleeding on me." Etta bound his wound with a poultice of healing herbs. Seven stood and walked over to the armor of Soames. He scoffed and began to remove his own. He kept his own helmet, though, and Sasha asked him, "So now you're taking the armor?" "I bested the Guardian. It's mine by right. I'll leave the helm for a member of Soames's knighthood, though." Etta looked up from Chips's hand. "What about the treasure?" "Who cares? It's ours, too." Sasha clapped and then helped his Seven to don the plate mail. He didn't bother asking how she knew how to attach the plates, and then helped him to slide his tabard over the mail. Etta and Chips stood up together. Chips was breathing heavily himself. "I called upon a phoenix to raise you," he said. Etta embraced him tightly. "Thank you, Chips. I love you." And Chips let out a muffled shout and waved his arms. She released him and he gasped, "Couldn't breathe. Love you too." All of them worked together to gather up the gold coins into various sacks they owned. Before they checked the chest, they gathered as much coin as they could carry. Seven leaned upon the dragon's whisker on his shoulder, and then he opened the chest. It was not locked. Inside there was a gauntlet. It was designed to look like a dragon's claw, talons and all. Seven removed the left-hand gauntlet he was wearing and placed the new one upon his hand. He looked at it expectantly, but nothing happened. Seven shrugged. "Well, maybe it's part of a set and the magic only works when you've got both of them. Or maybe its magic is of a subtle sort." Having said that, the partners ascended the stairs. They were full of triumph. "I do not want to go through that ordeal again to climb out of here," Etta declared. "Well, what can we do? Carve a door?" Sasha asked. "Not a bad idea," Etta replied. "What?" When they reached the ground floor, they were already quite wearied from their burdens. Etta drew a vial out of her satchel and poured acid on the bark wall. She poured it to draw a large semicircle. The wood smoked and sizzled and sap popped. And when it stopped making sounds, Etta smiled. "Make a door!" Seven looked at her. "As you wish, my love." He made a fist and punched the wall. The wood moved with a loud crack. He punched again, using the left fist, and then they had a door. The partners hunched over and exited. They saw the wagon up ahead and waved to the drover. As they neared, Etta grasped the drover by the arm and said, "We've got a bonus for you. We're going to another tomb tomorrow, but today and tonight we celebrate." The drover smiled at the idea of a bonus. They ate a fish stew that was hearty, but the fish itself was bland. In the wagon that night, the partners showered each other with affection. They were very happy and very much in love with each other. Each of them worked together to cover the Mataka's skin with that special warming oil that Sasha had. And together they made love. And that night Grimhorda quickened the eggs that Satrasha was carrying in her body, not yet ready to lay. The next day saw Seven getting accustomed to his new, heavier armor, and trying to find out at all anything about the gauntlet that he had found in the chest. And despite what she had said before, Etta did look at Sasha a bit differently now that she would become the mother of Seven's children. But she herself had made love to Chips that night, so she couldn't admit to any jealousy, just a feeling of a sort of longing that she couldn't quite define. Chips and Seven, for their part, were bonded more strongly than before. Chips still had not told him that he had made love to Sasha first. He didn't think that information was necessary, and neither did she. After all, they all loved each other, and Chips would never be able to quicken any of her eggs, and Seven and Etta could never have sexual intercourse at all, much less have children. So everything had a sort of balance, though Sasha did feel a little guilty that she could make love to both of her male partners, and Etta could not. These thoughts never kept their spirits down for long. After all, they were now rich adventurers, and they were brave heroes, and they were in love, and there was another adventure quite near. They were on top of the world. After going through some very rough terrain, they exceeded that they had to leave the wagon and continue on foot. There were a lot of patchy grasses and rocks on this section of the forest, but they soon left the tree line and found the clearing, and there the rocky hill from Seven's vision and their viewpoint atop the tree. By this time, Etta was breathing heavily and adjusting her satchel. Sasha gave her a hug from behind. "Catch your breath, sweetness," she said, and then held her for a while. Etta held Sasha's arms, and she smiled at them. "I love you, Sasha." "I love you, E." The two men smiled at them. "I'd like to remind you that adventure and treasures await, ladies," Chips joked. Sasha playfully took a swipe at him with her tail. The four partners walked and found themselves at the foot of the hill. "Didn't you say you saw tunnels? I distinctly remember tunnels," Etta quipped. Seven laughed. "Top of the hill, sweetness. Any candy left?" She checked her bag. "Only my sugary kisses, big boy." "Best share some, then." Etta smiled and kissed each of her partners in turn, saving Chips for last. And her kiss for him was a lingering thing. He squeezed her buttocks and made her squeal. And then he took one more kiss for himself and released her. She turned and boldly gestured and said, "Onward!" They marched up the rocky hill. Some time later, still in the lead, Etta panted, "Rest time now, please." And they rested and huddled together for warmth. They continued, but Etta was still tired and sore. All this exertion had better pay off, she thought, and she poked at her belly. Etta was leaning upon Seven, and Chips was leaning upon Sasha by the time they reached the top of the hill. There they saw the grave of brave Leanie, Mugu Knight, and sidekick of a human hero named Gale, who was a swordsman who wielded two magical swords, according to the tales that Chips knew anyway. The gravestone was etched in the common language. There was also a statue of a Mugu wearing mail with a helmet in hand, waving a greeting. Etta read the inscription. Here is the tomb of the hero Lini, defender of the oppressed, and defender of her human sidekick Gale. Her? I'd always thought Lini was a man. Sasha answered, I guess people made up their own legends and didn't think too hard about accuracy. Chips waved. Hello, Leanie. We're here to steal your stuff. The others laughed at him. Well, a Mugu appreciates honesty, he said. They began to search around the statue and the hill, looking for any signs of secret tunnels. But they found nothing out of the ordinary. And so Chips began to work on cleaning the statue and the plaque, brushing away dust and pulling overgrown grass out of the way. The others shrugged and joined him. With that done, there was still no sign of anything strange. Well, began Etta, I suspect the rumors of treasure were just those, or a gimmick to attract greedy people. Chips sighed. This took a lot of time, and I don't like thinking that it was for naught. So he kneeled in front of the statue, looking at Leanie in the eye. Goodbye, Leanie. Rest in peace. He held the statue's hand and kissed it. Well, now, a sexy human man finally pays his respects in the right way, Kupo. A voice called out. Chips blushed, and an armored Mugu stepped out from behind a rock, and she paused for breath. Chips blushed, still holding Leanie's hand. He hurriedly let go and backed away. Don't be embarrassed. Brave Leanie loved human men. Her heart was as big as her courage. Seven looked down at the diminutive warrior. Who are you? The Moogle flapped their tiny wings and doffed their helmet, revealing a face decorated with violet eyeshadow and a vibrant blue lipstick and white fur. I am a Mugu Knight Historian and a guardian of Leanie's tomb. You may call me Kumak. Seven asked, Are all of the guardians women? Not all, Kupo. We all like humans, though. Maybe not all of us in the same way Leanie did. But not all of us have big, strong wings like hers either. Kumak stepped forward several paces, and she tugged on Chips's robe. He kneeled. Allow me to return the favor on behalf of my heroine. She kissed Chips full on the mouth and held him there, closing her eyes and fluttering her wings. Chips held her hands until she released him, leaving smudge of blue lipstick on his face. Koopa, are you married? Chips gasped. No. Kumak smiled, and the others grinned. I heard what you said. We Mugus do like honesty. There is no treasure here. Not coins or jewels, anyway. History and inspiration are our treasures. Take a seat and let me tell you about Leanie and Gale. Likely you heard a very different story. So they listened to Kumak's version of brave Leanie and the hero Gale. In the human version, Gale was a massive hulk of a man, and Leanie his diminutive ally and sword brother. In the true version, told by the Mugus, Leanie was the daughter of a merchant prince who became a guard for the caravans, and then later a knight in service to King Omar III. Gale was a short and lean man, a former pirate who became Leanie's squire and manservant, and later her lover. It was a scandal, Kumak explained, but the heart follows its own rules, and Leanie's heart was especially fierce and independent. When Omar ordered her to leave Gale, she swore she would kill herself instead. Omar could not allow his most loyal and skilled knight to kill herself, so he relented, and he even officiated their wedding. And as a wedding present, he gave Gale his two famous swords, Solus Red and Solus Blue. They married? Chips asked and was stunned. How did they? I mean, the size difference alone. Kumak laughed. Every human man asks that, and no Mugu woman asks that. Sasha was perplexed. Well, what does that mean? Potions? Kumak looked at her levelly. Have you ever seen a baby Mugu? No. Yes, potions, but also love changes a Mugu. In the height of passion, Kumak's body grew to match her very large heart. Love made Leanie a giant. It was not her bravery that gave her the strength of 10. It was her love for Gale. So it wasn't a metaphor? She literally grew? Literally. Usually we Mugu are flighty and not very serious people. Leanie was special, though. I hope to find someone who loves me half as much. The partners shifted around, feeling awkward. And after a time, Kumak said, most of the story is absolutely true. Gale did fight with the two magic swords, Solus Red and Solus Blue, and he fought beside Leanie. Leanie did kill a great horned behemoth with Gale's help, and Leanie did order the grand monument at Gale's tomb constructed. She also took Solus Red away with her to be hidden, and Solus Blue she left to be hidden by a human priest named Kieran. When did she die? Asked Etta. She outlived Gale by 10 years, alone, and she left behind 4 sons. Chips asked, were they Gale's sons? No. She never remarried, but she had a few lovers, all of them Mugu nobles for political reasons. One of her sons founded my order. The others became ambassadors to human kingdoms. One of those was my great-grandfather. Sasha scratched one of her ears. So what about Mugu babies? Oh, that. Well, would you believe the magic moonbeam story? The partners laughed. All right. Baby Mugus are fairly big and they only grow a bit as they age, though we do mature quickly. My intention was to imply that we have huge vaginas and make a joke. Oh. So, Chips began, and then Kumek interrupted. Look, do you want a biology lesson? No, Kumek, please finish, Etta interrupted. Thank you. She fluttered her eyes flirtily. Gale died in battle, fighting against pirates. When Leanie died, it was a sickness that took her. Some said it was pneumonia. others a heart attack, but I believe she was poisoned. Any idea who? Seven asked. She had a lot of enemies. It could have been any of them, and we just don't know. Well, Etta said, thank you for kissing my partner in front of me and telling us that depressing story. I'd like to go now. Kumak huffed. Well, I'm sorry you didn't get any money out of your trip, but have a nice day. Chip said, I'm sorry, Kumak. Thank you for your time. I enjoyed the story. I guess now you want to know about the swords? She asked. Seven looked at the others. Not me. But Sasha stepped forward. Can we have the swords? Kumak replied, Sure, if you can find them. Here. And she handed her two scrolls. Sasha thanked her. They said their farewells and began the arduous journey back down the hill. Kumak chased after them. There are steps on this side. She pointed. They followed her, and true enough, there were steps carved into the hill. How did we miss those? Etta asked. Kumak shrugged her small shoulders and her wings flapped. Chips paused, looking at the statue, and then looking at Kumak. Has anyone told you you have a strong resemblance to Leanie? Kumak smiled. Thank you. She pulled his hand downward. He leaned down, and then she whispered, Make sure to wipe your face clean and give the Vienna a kiss. Somehow she's jealous of little me. She gave him one more kiss and then took a deep sigh. I'll be at Leanie's mill next week. Hopefully you will be too. I think I will, but Kumak, give me a chance. That's all I ask. We'll see. I didn't hear a no. Can I have one more? No. We'll see you next week. But you can't have any more kisses until I talk to my partners. You've stolen two. You have to earn any more. Kumek pouted, but she gave his hand a pat. I see you have a sort of serious set of rules. Goodbye for now. She smiled at him, and he smiled too. The steps made the journey much easier, and Chips held at his hand, which made her feel quite a bit better. They were easily able to relocate the wagon, and they returned back to Leanie's mill. That night, after they rested, Etta needed quite a lot of reassurance. She genuinely did feel threatened and offended by Kumak's behavior, and that was only aggravated by the disappointment. Chips tried to comfort her with kisses and words of affirmation, and he explained to Etta that Kumak had stolen those kisses and that he had told her she would need to talk to the others before she could earn any more. After all, she is not one of our family. Sasha gave him a hug from behind, and then she reached over him to touch Etta. You are always with us. You are in our family, and we all love you. Sasha spoke my thoughts exactly, said Seven, who then held Etta from behind and gave her neck a lick. Etta trembled and purred a little. Sasha winked at Seven and gave Chips's neck a lick, and then she squeezed his penis. In this fashion, all four of them participated in love-making between Chips and Etta. The two mammals kissed and touched each other, and also caressed their reptilian partners, and after the final throes of passion, they cuddled their reptilian companions. And every one of them was warm, comfortable, loved, and safe. Each of them was assured of their value within the group, and they knew their place. The place they belonged was right there in the arms of their partners who loved them. Seven was now holding Sasha. Chips held Seven, and Etta held Sasha. Seven caressed Sasha's face, as he had often done to Etta, feeling its shape and imbuing his touch with his love, and they both rumbled in their throats. Etta cooed and let out another purr, and Chips sighed. I can't make any cool sounds, but I am very happy. Seven yawned and said, We love you despite your racial handicap. Chips gently punched his shoulder. And then Etta said, I do wonder if Mugus and humans can do it. I bet Mr. Chips is too big for any Moogle, though. Sasha laughed throatily. Ooh, I think so too. Chips, come over here and help me test the theory. Etta laughed. Wait, you and he could? I want to find out. Seven moved aside, and Etta moved too, so that now Seven was behind Sasha, Etta behind Chips, who was now sitting, and then Sasha sat on his lap. Etta pressed her body into Chips's back, and she spread her legs to be closer to him. Chips was very conscious of Etta's softness, her skin and her warmth, her hair. She let out a purr and nibbled his ear, and then Sasha began to touch him and lick him, and he felt warmth and love spread through his entire self. Seven caressed Sasha, and he rubbed her cloaca. She arched her back. Etta rubbed some of that warming oil onto Chips's manhood, and she stroked him and leaned over to kiss Sasha again. Seven and Etta assisted Sasha in mounting herself onto Chips. As Sasha gasped and moaned, her internal muscles moved, squeezing and pulling at him. Chips held her close and covered her scales with his kisses. As he moaned that penultimate ecstasy, Sasha let out a sigh, and she said, definitely too big for any tiny old Mugu. I don't think I want to share our men with anyone anyway. She eventually released him and gave him one more lick, tasting his sweat. And then Etta asked, How was it? Wonderful. It makes me wish that I had a vagina. I wish I was as strong as you, though, Etta replied. If I could have sex the way you do, I might not do anything else. Chip spoke up. If I may interject, I think you're both wonderful in your ways, and I think you're too wonderful not to share. Seven responded, I, however, agree completely. I love Etta's candy kisses, and I love Sasha's strength, and I love Etta's intelligence, and I love Sasha's perceptiveness. After this, they arranged themselves into a sleeping configuration, and Chips, feeling spent, fell asleep quickly. He was resting on Etta's bosom. Chips dreamed of brave Leanie, her sword and shield in hands. She was fighting pirates. Etta, who was spent herself, also slept. Sasha and Seven watched them sleep, bundled in blankets, and they whispered to each other in Mataka La. Satrasha, are you happy to mother my spawn? Grimhorda, I am. I will be mother to heroes. I am in love with you, and I with you. Are you in love with our adopted eggs? I am. This gladdens me. We are a strange family, but together we are as right and correct as the river flowing to the ocean. This family is my river. I smell that Kumak is in love with Chips. I smell that Chips desires Kumak but is not in love with her. Chips fears hurting Etta and me. I smell that Kumak loves every human. You may be correct. Do we allow the experiment? We must allow them to follow their inner voice. You speak my thoughts. I cannot be hurt if Chips falls in love with other women. I know that my heart lives within his. Etta is delicate and fears for the safety of her heart. I worry for her. Much distresses her. Your words contradict your earlier statement. That was in the heat of passion, and I felt greedy. Do you want to share him with others? I do not seek it out, but I will allow it. What of me? You? Of you, I claim only this clutch. If another woman is quickened by you, I will nurture her spawn as my own. If you desire, I will raise many eggs by you, but you are not my property. You are my family, my nest and home. I have never smelled a woman who stirred father feelings in me before you. I would be afraid if there was another who smelled so sweet. Your words are as sweet as candy, but I do not smell fear in you, not at all. I fear every fight. I fear losing my family. Chips is adopted and my own brother, and we have shared everything I love. I almost saw him die, and I did see Etta die, and I was so afraid for my greedy and lonely heart. I am afraid. My own death I do not fear, but you, I fear your death. I fear pain and suffering for you and our adopted eggs. I know what you fear. It is my fear. We grow ever closer, and our nest is large. May our nest grow full. May our nest grow full. Now, what potions did you speak of? Haha, I learned of them in the harem. Potions to make a person larger. The Caliph had tastes for every kind of woman, and he would enlarge those who were too small. Mugus, pixie fairies, once a Gria, but Gria are large. That potion was for him with her. He was surprised when her egg hatched to be another Gria woman. He did not know that the Gria need other species to live, and that they only ever are women. Is that so? Oh, yes. The Gria have vaginas, but they lay eggs. They have tails and claws and wings, and also breasts. They are a strong people. I envy them sometimes. Can they breed with Mataka? Oh, yes. He yawned. Were you happy back in the harem? No. It was not a sharing. It was a taking. It was not a family. And I was lonely. I'm happy that you are in my family. I am happy to be in your family. When she finally slept, Sasha dreamed of Sasha dreamed of Poledra, Gria geomancer, and harem girl like herself. They had all been bought for contracts of a year at a time, but Poledra stayed and stayed. She loved the Caliph, and she wanted no other man. The Caliph did not love her or their daughter. Eventually, she and her daughter flew away and never sent Sasha any word. Seven dreamed of Soames. In the dream, Soames was wearing two magical gauntlets and holding the dragon's whisker in them. Soames called upon lightning from the sky to strike his enemies, and he saw Soames riding upon a golden dragon. And later, a gold-scaled Mataka woman was having a marriage ceremony with him, and he saw as the gold Mataka grew wings and transformed into a dragon to leave Soames behind. Soames wept. Once they returned to Leanie's mill, they sold Seven's old armor, and they stored many coins at the bank. They commissioned the new, bigger wagon, and designed it to have a stove and a chimney, and all sorts of odds and ends. It was far too heavy for Vochos, so they would need a team of oxen. Etta spent a lot of time also at the library, looking for information about the gauntlets of Soames. Chips rented a house for them so that they could have a good, safe, warm place for when Satrasha laid her eggs. They had enough coin for the wagon, rent on their house, and food to last the winter. They sold their Vochos, they sold their old wagon, and they set their sights on the future. More adventure and a future for their children. And they all felt a strong responsibility for the unhatched spawn. After they had been in the new house for a week, Sasha laid her eggs. Etta helped her to egg sit, and several nights later, Chips brought Kumak home for dinner, and they kept things cordial. How did you find each other? Seven asked. I found him shopping for cushions and blankets. You folk are the talk of Leanie's mill. Kumak announced this with a smile. Are you married yet? Etta smiled and returned, No, not yet. If I endorse you, you could buy this house and become citizens of Cassandra. Would there be a cost for this endorsement? Oh, I don't charge friends and family. Tell me, how long have you been a family? Why? Chips gave Etta a look, and he sat down beside her, holding her hand. I'm fascinated by you, Kumek exclaimed. Changing the subject, Seven said, I didn't recognize you without your armor. Kumek twirled in her caramel-colored dress. It had silk sleeves covering her wings as well. Kupo, it's brand new. I bought it for tonight. Do you like it? Seven nodded. Etta looked at herself and felt shabby. Her dress was a whole year old. It is nice, Kumek. I like that it makes your wings look elegant, too. She managed to be complimentary, though she was still uncomfortable around the knight, who took the time to doll up even when she was on duty. Etta excused herself and went to the master bedroom, where Satrasha was dressing. Sasha gave her a hug. I heard talking. Do we have a guest? Kumak is here, and wearing a special dress. I don't have any new clothes. Do you have any cosmetics? Sasha touched her snout, and then she touched at his lips. Stop. Kumak is a guest. You live here. She follows our rules. We don't follow hers. I have cosmetics, yes, but do you really want to wear them? Well, I never really wear them, but we loved you covered in trail dust. We don't need them. Maybe I want to do it for a special? Okay, then. We'll both doll up. Chips had excused himself to check on the food, and the delivery arrived right when he was exiting the house. He paid the Mugu delivery boy, and he carried the food inside. As he set the basket at the table, Etta and Sasha entered the dining room. You look lovely, he said. Thank you, Chips, Sasha said with grace. They each gave Chips a hug. Let's see how Seven is holding up. How are the eggs? She waved a hand dismissively. They don't need much attention at this time. Let's make sure that she isn't eating poor Seven alive. In the sitting room, Seven was adding a log to the fire. As sitting arrangements were silently made, Kumak sat beside Sasha. She rested her hand on Kumak's leg. How long have you been a knight? Oh, I'm pretty new. Only a year out of my apprenticeship. Do you plan to marry? Who will marry whom? Etta looked at her and asked, Why are you so interested in the topic of marriage? Maybe you should marry someone. Are you proposing? No, but I'm curious. You are probing into our private lives. Kumak looked down. I hadn't thought of that. I'm a naturally curious person, Kupo. Chips put his arm around Etta's shoulders. Etta's uncomfortable with this, but I will tell you my thoughts. If a marriage happened, it would be a plural marriage. We'd be co-husbands and co-wives. We're all quite happy with each other. Our life is good for us. It may not be for others, but we like it. Kumak nodded. So, you know that I like you, and I see now that if I want you, I have to take along all of you. Chips nodded. We all have to take you. You're nice and friendly, but we don't know you, Etta said. She touched Sasha's hand. Well, I want to know you, and I want to have adventures, and I want to be loved, Kumak said. Yes, but can you love all of us? To be honest, I don't know. I'd like to find out. Sasha asked, Would you marry us? I don't know. I think maybe. And then Etta said, I think we should eat and maybe try it out. Another warrior would be quite welcome, and you are a kind-hearted sort. Seven spoke next. I smell that you were excited and attracted to Chips. I approve of you being with us. Sasha tickled her and Kumak giggled. I welcome you. I think that destiny is moving us. And I like that you like being tickled, Sasha said. They looked at Chips expectantly. In response, he kissed Etta deeply, and then he turned to Kumak. She was staring at him. He regarded her silently. He stood and walked over to the sofa that was being shared by Sasha and Kumak. He kissed Sasha upon her snout and her forehead, and then he knelt in front of Kumak and moved to embrace her. She slipped to the floor to stand in front of him and embraced him. And then he kissed her. Her heart melted, her wings fluttered, and she felt that powerful love that was shared in Chips, Etta, and Satrasha. She wanted more of that. She wanted to feel the love of all four of them. The kiss lingered, and somehow all of them felt Kumak's heart fluttering, and everything felt right. She broke the kiss only to kiss him again, touching his face in one hand and holding his hand in her other. Sasha stood and gently separated them. Kumak looked at her, questioning silently. Sasha picked her up, and Kumak gave her a kiss. She set her down, and then Kumak ran to Seven. Please? She asked plaintively. He lifted her and she kissed him as well. She immediately turned to Etta. Etta embraced her, engulfing the smaller woman. She whispered to the Mugu, I felt your heart. I'm not very good at this sort of thing. Please be patient with me. Kumak kissed her deeply and felt so warm that she worried she might burst into flame. All five of them, their love magnified and united, swirling within Kumak and then Etta. Etta's fears faded, and she broke the kiss. I think you passed the test. No matter what appearances may say, you belong in our family. Etta was overcome by this, and she began to weep. Too many emotions were rising up inside her. Kumak was weeping too. I feel like I might burst, Kupo. Seven touched her face and she closed her eyes. I believe it's getting to be time to eat, he said gently. Their meal was filled with stories. Stories about Leanie, stories about Etta learning how to brew her frost bombs, Chips teaching his sister Molly how to write, Seven learning how to write a vocho for the first time. Kumak asked if she could stay the night. No one objected. Kumak addressed the partners in the bedroom after the meal. I have some money from my title, some from my family, and some from some businesses I've invested in. I'm one of the nobles who advise the governor, so I can see to it that we get legally married and our partnership legitimized as well as any children we might have. Forgive me, dear, said Chips. It sounds too good to be true. Mugus are very business-minded people, so there's all sorts of different kinds of legal unions in our culture, and all sorts of business partnerships legitimized. For us, it would be easy to just get married, Kumak declared.